Well, ladies and gentlemen, the world just shifted. The Federal Reserve just made a massive announcement that will touch the lives of millions of Americans. Your money, your mortgage, your credit cards, your retirement, everything that you thought was locked in is about to change. Jerome Powell, Fed Chair Jerome Powell, the so-called independent Fed chair, just bent the knee at Jackson Hole, signaling the very thing Democrats swore would never happen. Rate cuts are coming, big ones, and the stock market exploded to all-time highs. But here's a twist. This wasn't just an economic move. This was clearly political, explosive, and deeply connected to the scandals inside the Federal Reserve itself. We're talking about Biden's handpicked Fed Governor Lisa Cook, now caught in what the FHFA Director Bill Pulte calls blatant mortgage fraud. Now, President Trump has already said it plain and simple. She resigns or she's fired. And if she goes, Trump gets control of the Fed, a majority of the board. Now, just imagine that, guys. A Fed finally working for the American people instead of the globalists. But this is just the beginning, because we now know that the CBO just dropped a massive bombshell report saying President Trump's tariffs will cut the deficit by $4 trillion. And while America wins, Canada caves, dropping retaliatory tariffs after Prime Minister Mark Carney realizes that Trump had him cornered from the very first day. Guys, Canada caved, and Prime Minister Mark Carney just discovered this. I mean, this is huge, guys. And folks, it gets even hotter. By the way, shout out to all my Canadian friends, family members, anybody from Canada watching the show right now. Let me know. Let me know you're here. Let me know where you're watching from. The FBI raiding none other than John Bolton, guys. President Trump's former advisor turned swamp critic. This is the same guy who cheered on the Mar-a-Lago raid with the line, "No one is above the law." Well, evidently, John Bolton thought that he was above the law. Wait till you find out what this guy's been up to. John Bolton. How's that line working out for you right now? Anyway, so Trump isn't just sitting back. He is reinstating FBI whistleblowers who were destroyed under former President Joe Biden, giving them back their clearances, giving them back their pay and their dignity. Now, this is bigger than just interest rates, guys. This is about power, corruption, and the fight for America's future. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to break down why Jerome Powell's move is actually signaling Trump. And it signals that Trump has finally broken the Fed. The Fed is broke. How Lisa Cook's fraud scandal could give Trump full control of monetary policy. The $4 trillion tariff bombshell that the media doesn't want you to know about. Canada folding under Trump's pressure. And yes, Bolton, the FBI raids, and Trump's cleanup of the bureau. Guys, this ain't just a regular news day. This is clearly a turning point. You're not going to believe what's coming next. Now, how would you feel if you walked into your doctor's office and found out that your Medicare plan quietly got dropped from the network? Like, think about this. Imagine your Medicare plan dropped your own doctor from the network. Now, I know it sounds horrible, but believe it or not, it happens every single day. This is why I partnered with Chapter, because they double check your providers so that you're never blindsided by this. People like Sharon Bertusik, she knows exactly what it's like to lose coverage and what a relief it is to finally be able to get it fixed. And guess what? Chapter is fixing it left and right for viewers of my community. I cannot thank them enough for this. And so let me ask, are you willing to risk that surprise? Now, most people are not willing to risk that. This is why they're already calling the number at the bottom of your screen. Phone number is 909-563-8279, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. It's a totally free call for my community. And drop me a comment down below. Let me know how well things work out for you. I can't wait to hear from you. All right, folks, let's mark the date down. August 25th, 2025, because this is one of those days you're going to remember. The Federal Reserve just made a massive announcement, and it's not just some abstract policy move, guys. No, this is about your wallet, your job, your mortgage, your future. Every single American is going to feel what the Fed just did. And let's get this straight right now. Donald J. Trump is in the White House. Joe Biden's gone. This announcement doesn't happen without Trump's pressure. For years, the Fed resisted him. For years, they slow walked interest rates while families were getting crushed under Biden's inflation. But today, that wall finally cracked. So what exactly happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. At Jackson Hole, Fed Chair Jerome Powell bent the knee. He finally admitted that, hey, what we've been saying all along is the economy is shifting. Inflation is cooling, job growth is slowing, and the Fed can't keep hammering Americans with these sky-high interest rates. And Jerome Powell didn't just hint, he opened the door wide. Rate cuts are coming, big ones. The moment those words left his mouth, Wall Street went wild. The Dow ripped to record highs, nearly 46,000. Trillions in wealth added in one day. Pensions are up, 401ks are up, retirement accounts are surging. It was a thunderclap across the entire financial world. But this isn't just about the stock market elites. This is about you guys, okay? Rate cuts mean lowering the borrowing costs on credit cards, mortgages, car loans, refinances. Families drowning under Biden's debt nightmare are finally getting to see light at the end of the tunnel. Millions of Americans who couldn't qualify for a mortgage might finally be able to afford a home. Now, of course, there is a trade-off. If you're sitting on savings, CDs, or money markets, those rates will start to tick down. But the reality is this, guys. Americans buried under 30 to 35% credit card interest rates, they care a lot more about relief than a 0.5% lost on some savings account. You know what I mean? Now, let me know if you're battling some credit card debt right now. Let me know if you're battling credit card debt, and let me know who's out here who's debt-free. Let me know where you stand, guys. So this is why the announcement's massive, because it's not about charts or speeches. It's about millions of Americans who just got a lifeline. But here's the kicker. Powell's move isn't just economics. It's politics, okay? And it signals something far bigger. Trump's total victory over the Fed. Because think about it. Inflation crushed, check. Immigration under control, check. So the one lever Trump couldn't pull directly was the Fed's interest rate policy. And now that lever is being pulled hard. Democrats? Furious. Why? Because they wanted Jerome Powell to drag this out until after the midterms, even if it meant your family suffered up until then, right? Well, they would rather watch Americans bleed under 20% mortgage payments than give Trump a win. And that's the game that they're playing. So here's a question, folks. If Trump just forced Jerome Powell to bend, what's next? Like, could he actually seize control of the Fed itself? Because the Lisa Cook scandal, this thing is blowing wide open. And if Trump flips the script, that seat, he could actually hold the keys to the entire Federal Reserve. And so let's go ahead and break this down. What Jerome Powell just did was not some random act of kindness. No, folks, this was clearly a Trump victory. Now think about it. Trump promised 3 things on the campaign trail. Let me know if y'all remember this. He promised to crush inflation, fix immigration, and force the Fed to lower interest rates. Now, 2 of those promises, they're already done. He ain't even got a year into the presidency yet. Inflation crushed, immigration's back under control. And so now the final lever is being pulled. This isn't speculation. This is the reality. For years, Trump called out the Fed for strangling working class Americans, for keeping interest rates sky high while Biden's inflation destroyed families. And Jerome Powell resisted. He tried to stand tall, to play tough, but under the weight of Trump's maximum pressure campaign, the speeches, the policy wins, the market surging, Powell finally snapped. He bent to Trump's will. And let me ask you this. If Trump is already forcing Powell to pivot, what happens if Trump actually takes control of the Fed itself? Because that is exactly what is at stake right now. Enter Lisa Cook, Biden's handpicked, hyper-partisan Fed governor. This is the same Lisa Cook, now accused of blatant mortgage fraud. Now, what did she do? Well, she claimed, allegedly, that she lived in Michigan, took out a loan, then claimed, allegedly, another home in Atlanta as her primary residence too. Folks, you can't do that. That is not a paperwork error. That's fraud. FHFA Director Bill Pulte called it exactly what it is, a blatant scam. He referred the case to the DOJ, and the investigation is now underway. And President Trump, he didn't mince words either. He said it plain and easy. If she doesn't resign, I'll fire her. Now, here's where the stakes really skyrocket. If Lisa Cook is forced out, and she's teetering right now on getting kicked out, fired, or resigning, Trump gets to fill that seat himself. Now, if you combine that with Stephen Mayer, Trump's top economist, who's already lined up for a confirmation, what do you get? You get a 4-3 pro-Trump majority on the Fed board. Clearly, this is not symbolic. This is operational control. This is control of the Fed's budget. control of the research, control of the process, and more than that, influence over the 12 regional Fed presidents, 5 of whom rotate voting power on the FOMC. That is the body that literally decides your interest rates. Do you guys see what's happening now? This is not just Jerome Powell pivoting. This is the foundation being laid for Trump to seize the wheel of the Federal Reserve itself. He's about to be, what was that movie? He was like, where the guy, he was like, I'm the captain of the ship now. I feel like that's just playing in my head right now. Anyway, so here's a part of the story that's really going to shake the establishment to its core. People, wasn't that like Tom Hanks or something? Anyway, people inside the White House are already talking about something bigger. They're whispering about whether the Fed should even exist at all. That's right, guys. End the Fed. How many of you guys think that the Fed should be, just completely taken down, like extinct, or, just completely removed? If you think the Fed should be removed, y'all let me know. Now think about this for a second, okay? For over a century, the Federal Reserve, who is not even a real bank, okay? The Federal Reserve has been like a speed governor on America's economic engine, restricting how fast we can go. But what if the market, the free market, set interest rates, not a room full of unelected bankers? That's the conversation that Trump's having right now. Okay, that's the kind of conversation that Trump's people are also having. And this is one that the Democrats are absolutely terrified of. And guess what? It's only half the story, actually, because while Trump is this is so wild, right? While Trump is out here boxing in the Fed, the CBO just dropped a bombshell report showing his tariffs. Those tariffs alone could slash the deficit by $4 trillion. That's right, guys. Tariffs, not taxes, not printing money, tariffs. So I want to talk about that right now. So don't move an inch, guys. We already covered Jerome Powell bending the knee and, the Lisa Cook scandal. But I want to talk about the other hammer that this massive hammer blow that dropped this week, okay? The CBO, this is the Congressional Budget Office. They just dropped a bombshell report. And let me tell you guys, the mainstream press buried this because it absolutely destroys their narrative. Now, for years, they're screaming about Trump's tariffs being, they're going to bankrupt America. Trump's tariffs are going to cause a recession. Trump's tariffs are destroying your 401k. They couldn't be further from the truth, guys. They're straight up lying. Look at the S&P 500 today. The NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, they're all hitting record highs. So the reality, according to the CBO, Trump's tariffs are projected to cut the federal deficit by $4 trillion over the next decade. Let that sink in for a second, guys. $4 trillion. That's huge. So how are they doing that? Well, it's simple. The tariffs are bringing in new revenue. $3.3 trillion from tariff collections alone. And then on top of that, those tariffs will slash interest payments on the debt by another $700 billion. So that's money that could have gone straight to the pockets of global bankers, but instead it's going to be staying in America. I'm pretty happy about that. Anybody else happy about that we're paying down the deficit with the tariff money? So here's the kicker. This isn't even about the Federal Reserve lowering interest rates. This is independent of Powell, independent of interest cuts. This is purely Trump's tariffs reshaping the playing field and rewriting the books. Folks, this is a historic reversal. Make no mistake. Now, I want to jump north of the border because the dominoes are falling everywhere, left and right. Look above your head. The dominoes are falling. Put a hat on. Put a construction hat on. They're falling, right? The Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, finally caved. After months of bluffing, after months of slapping tariffs on U.S. goods, Mark Carney folded like a cheap tent. He announced Canada is officially dropping its retaliatory tariffs against the United States. I called this forever ago. Why? Because Mark Carney finally realized what Trump knew all along. Canada's entire economy is subsidized by America. This guy clearly can't do math. And he was like clearly bluffing with a weak hand. Lumber, dairy, energy, steel, you name it. For decades, we bought Canadian goods while they blocked ours with these 200 to 300% tariffs. It's not even fair. They lived high on the hog while American farmers and manufacturers got crushed by those Canadian tariffs. Well, Mark Carney thought that he could just go ahead and pivot over to Europe. He thought that, he could just ice America out, but reality hit him in the face. Europe couldn't fill the gap. And Trump's tariffs hit harder than anybody expected. And at the end of the day, Mark Carney, he had no choice but to eat Trump's tariffs and beg to preserve what was left of Canada's sweetheart trade deal with us. And so let's be clear, guys, this is a huge win for Trump. And I understand why Canadians are so mad at Mark Carney, because he's a horrible deal maker. Clearly, he doesn't know how to work a calculator, and he is an embarrassment to the country, because Canada wasn't just another trade partner, it was the last holdout. Now that Mark Carney surrendered, the USMCA is set for review, and the stage is set for Trump to rewrite the entire deal on America's terms. And folks, if you thought that was explosive, wait until you hear what happens next, okay? FBI just raided John Bolton. Yes, that John Bolton, the swamp creature who's been calling for Trump's head for years. And now he's the one that's in the crosshairs. And so now, guys, buckle up, because if you thought that the Fed and the tariffs were big news, what just happened at the Fed, what just happened at the FBI is absolutely earth-shaking. So look, the FBI raided John Bolton's home. Yes, that John Bolton, guys, Trump's former national security advisor, the same guy who cheered on the Mar-a-Lago raid, smugly saying, hey, no one is above the law. Well, guess what, John? That boomerang just smacked you right in the back of the head, sir. Agents stormed his home looking for classified documents. Let me remind you, Trump already stripped Bolton of his security clearance, stripped him of his security details. He was supposed to return every single piece of classified material. If he didn't, now that's a crime. Simple as that. And so here's where the hypocrisy explodes. MSNBC, the same network that parroted the rule of law 5,000 times when they thought it was Trump that was in trouble. They're suddenly crying foul, calling the raid chilling, calling it retribution. Give me a break, guys. They loved the raids when it was Trump. They loved the raids when it was like the FBI sniffing through Melania Trump's underwear drawer. Now that it's one of their swamp buddies, all of a sudden it's Putin-level tyranny. Wow, the double standard couldn't be any clearer. So let's not forget, guys, Bolton isn't just some innocent public servant. He is a swamp creature with a reported $90 million net worth. How does a lifetime bureaucrat manage to rack up a $90 million net worth? $90 million, guys. That's a question that nobody in the press is going to ask. But you and I, we know the answer. Peddling influence, trading on influence, living off the swamp. Maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the FBI is digging into. But here's the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that this raid is not a one-off. It's just the start. In fact, the whispers in D.C. say Comey, Brennan, they could be next. And if that's true, Trump isn't just draining the swamp. He's flooding it, flushing it, and torching it all at the same time. And so while the FBI is finally going after the swamp, Trump is clearing up the bureaucracy itself. I mean, big news just dropped this week. Trump reinstated nearly a dozen FBI whistleblowers who were punished under Biden. These are patriots who had their careers destroyed for daring to speak the truth. People like Marcus Allen, a Marine who exposed how Biden's FBI was targeting parents at school board meetings and conservatives at church gatherings. Now, Trump's bringing them back, not just with clearances restored, but with their full payback. Every penny that they lost under Biden, which, all the witch hunts were being paid back. And get this, FBI Director Kash Patel confirmed everything. The Bureau is back on track, loyalty to the law, not to partisan politics. Can I get an amen for that? Folks, this is what it looks like when the tide turns. The swamp is panicking, Trump is empowering the truth tellers, and justice is finally swinging the right direction. So we're not done yet, though, guys, because these rate cuts, they're coming. Tariffs are rewriting the books, and the FBI finally being cleaned out. The last piece of the puzzle, this is the one that's closest to home, the housing market. So is this finally going to be affordable again? I mean, anybody ready for some affordable housing? Well, let's see here. So I want to talk about the piece that really does hit home, literally the housing market, okay? For years, under Biden, families were locked out. The mortgage rates went through the roof. Prices are sky high. Even if you freaking found the home that you love, right? You probably couldn't qualify for a loan. It was a very dark time. 4 years of pure insanity caused by runaway Biden inflation. But now things are changing. Existing home sales are ticking back up. Confidence is coming back. And according to FHFA Director Bill Pulte, the Fed funds rate sitting at 4.5% has no business being that high. Inflation is crushed. The economy is stabilizing. He says rates should be closer to 1%. And with Jerome Powell bending the knee, we're headed that way. Now think about what that means, guys. Under Trump, families who thought that they would never own a home might finally be able to see that dream within reach again. Rates coming down, tariffs bringing in trillions of dollars, inflation tamed. Folks, that's not just policy on paper. That is a revival of the American dream. And let's not gloss over the big picture. This week alone, we saw the Fed fold. The CBO confirmed Trump's tariffs are saving trillions of dollars. Canada surrender on trade. Bolton raided by the FBI. Whistleblowers reinstated. And the housing market showing light at the end of the tunnel. This isn't just about another news cycle. This is a turning point in history. Trump's influence is breaking through at every level. The Fed, the FBI, our trade deals, and soon your household budget. So let me leave you with this here, guys. The establishment fought tooth and nail to keep you under their thumb. They said that the tariffs are going to fail. They said that the Fed would never move. They said Trump could never take control. And yet here we are. August 24th, actually August 25th, 2025, the day the tide turned. But yeah, the fight ain't over. The swamp will be back. They're going to come back swinging. They always do. Democrats are already plotting to drag this out, way past midterms. The media is going to lie. They're going to spin. That's what they always do. They're going to scream retribution, but the facts don't lie. Markets don't lie. And your wallet definitely don't lie, right? So do you believe the Fed should even exist? Should unelected bankers decide your future? Or is it time to put the power back where it belongs with the American people? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below, guys, because this debate is just getting started. Now, folks, that pretty much wraps it up for today, but don't go anywhere because YouTube thinks it knows exactly what you want to see next. Now, right now, this video is being suggested to you. It believes that you absolutely are going to love it next. And trust me, usually YouTube is right. So click that video, watch it, keep this momentum rolling, guys, because this story that we just uncovered today, this ties directly to what's coming next. Like, subscribe, share this video. We'll see you next time.